direct conversation, some deep reactions, please. All this comics narration ain't late to me. A little more talk, a lot less read. A little fight, baby, is what I need. Close the trade, open up your brains. Explain it to me. Explain it to me, baby. Explain it to me.
Thank you, Vandello, and welcome back to Rhett Conversations. My name is Josh Wasta, a.k.a. Fallout Fieri, and with me, as always, say her name, if no one is around you. Say, baby, I love you, if you ain't running game. It's Miss Leia Cameron.
Hello.
I was pretty proud of that one, especially with what we're doing today.
Timely, yes.
Yeah. And our special guest today, never been on Graphically Novel before. My co-host from my only
Conversations?
That one. Well, any Graphically Novel production.
Sorry.
But my co-host from my only non-nerd podcast, Straight Up Dog Talk, with Mr. Toby in her lap. It is Emily Breslin. Ems, welcome.
Thank you. I'm super excited to be here.
Well, first things to get to first, we will be doing Batman The Wedding by Tom King today, which is such a great comic. I'm so glad that I read it and every comic leading up to it. But before we do that, Ems, you haven't been on a Graphically Novel podcast before. We have a tradition of our first-time guests just giving a brief history of their history with comic books.
Okay, so comic books started actually pretty early for me, like elementary school, honestly. My sister and I grew up in a neighborhood full of boys. There was one girl and she was a year older than me. And so we kind of were just tomboys, and they always had comic books, and we were always collecting, comic book, like the little collector's cards. And that was like a game that you could play with the collector's cards, and there was always like people stealing each other's cards, and then it just kind of is a thing that's been on and off throughout my life. I have a giant Lego Batman tattoo on my back. Batman's kind of always, he's always been my favorite. So just a love that's kind of just followed me throughout my life.
Darkness.
Yeah, we
parents.
Yeah, one of the places you lived in, actually, Jed and I got a couple of Batman things for your Batman bathroom. Your all Batman bathroom.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah, they're still kind of like scattered around the house. I have Casey Woolner has done several custom paintings for me, and I have a Batman, like a Dark Knight Batman that he did for me. I also have an Alice in Wonderland that he did for me. But the Batman is there's still, all of those pieces are somewhere around this house too. It's just in different rooms. I think they're downstairs, mostly in like the Lego comic book area now. So
that's fantastic. Yeah, and Jen and I also have kind of a special place for Batman and Catwoman. We have a strip in our living room or in our hallway upstairs that's like Batman and Catwoman in a fight, but it's like them. It's them in the style of the 90s cartoon, the animated series, which is just, kind of one of our favorites. And today we will be talking about Batman and Catwoman getting married. And
it's kind of like everybody's dream, right?
Yeah.
Like the dream.
But first I have to talk about the mistake I made yesterday. When I started reading this, Leia will be presenting, but I wanted to I always try to, read it and make sure, I'm prepared for the questions. And the way that this comic begins seems like you need to know a lot of other things to know what's going on in this comic. And so I decided to just go back. This is graphic novel number 7 in the 13 that Tom King wrote in his Batman run. So I went back to the first one. And so I've read 7 Tom King graphic novels in the last 24 hours. And they're fantastic. They're phenomenal. It does start out a little... What's that? What do you mean?
What do you mean?
Yeah. I'm channeling you and friend of the pod, Adam Witt, in just sitting down and reading. Probably my favorite out of the run I have actually put on our list, and it's called The War of Jokes and Riddles, which is Tom King went back, and it's this event that has never been explained before that he alludes to in his own stuff, but it's like a year after Bruce has taken the cowl and the Joker and Riddler get into a war and split up Gotham. But Leia, my particular sell to you is that Tom King does what Tom King does the best is he takes an obscure character and really dives deep into them to make you just
It makes him cool.
love that character. He does that with Kite Man.
Yeah, he seems to really be into Kite Man. I've seen references to Kite Man and all. I feel like everything I've read him. And it's just like an aside, like, hey, remember this character exists. So I wasn't sure if it was a case where he genuinely enjoyed Kite Man, or if Kite Man was the equivalent of the Cosmic Treadmill to me. Like, if
Both.
Kite Man is his Cosmic Treadmill.
It's both, actually. If you have watched the Harley Quinn cartoon, Kite Man shows up in that, and Tom King writes him as he is in that in the Harley Quinn cartoon, but also adds depth, which is a weird combination of things to do. So yeah, high recommend for the War of Jokes and Riddles. So anyway, I went through and read all of it and up to this issue. And once we get done recording, I'm going to go downstairs, fix myself a cup of tea, and continue to read because it's just fantastic. This whole run is so good. So for people who have not tuned in before, this is how the show is going to go. The presenting professor, Professor L, will take Emily step by step through the Batman the Wedding, and at any point, Emily, you have the opportunity to pull the emergency brake on our entire podcast. Ask any question, make any comment, just go on a side tangent if you want to. That is just how we do it here. It is then up to me, the assisting professor, Professor J, to answer your question. If I can't do it, I will throw back to Professor L. If neither of us can do it, we put up our hands, wiggle our fingers, and say comic books, because that's a legitimate answer.
Yes.
So are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, Professor L, take it away.
All right. So this was written, I believe, in 2017, 2018.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of the few Tom King stories I have not read. I have not read any of his Batman run prior to this, which is, I mean, surprising, right? But aside from the 2 issues where Batman and Superman go on a double date with Lois and Catwoman, that's the only part of this run that it turns out that I read.
Yeah, and that is in 2 graphics before this called Rules of Engagement.
Yeah. So it's not being featured here. I also, I'm going to put out my standard disclaimer that prior to doing this podcast, I read very, very little DC. And so there's going to be a couple characters I probably am going to misname or, say, oh, it's just some guy and it's actually a really important person. Feel free to correct me, Josh, when I am wrong. Because I think
I have most of them here, but some of them, I'm going to be like, who knows?
There were a couple people where I had to ask Adam, who's that?
Yeah.
So we open up. This is kind of like a little prelude in this book. We open up with a storyline called The Gift. This is it's something.
It features once again Booster Gold, who in Human Target was one of our favorites.
Yes, and so Tom King is getting to write more Booster Gold. So if you enjoyed that in Human Target, you'll love this little mini story here because it's
to bring you up to speed, Emily, in Human Target, Booster Gold has a new business venture in which he wants to operate bagel shops. And his claim to fame is they're untoasted.
Yes.
Oh my. Well, that's the wrong way to eat a bagel.
Correct.
Not only correct, but like his whole thing is they're not toasted before you cut them open, as opposed to he thinks everyone else toasts their bagels before you cut them open.
It's very clear that Booster Gold is not a Jew.
Or from New York.
Right.
Yeah. I'm from New York, Troy. I know what a bagel is.
Bagel. It's like when people talk about getting those gyros here.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
Like, we're gonna get a gyro. I was like, first of all, no, you're not. Second of all,
Gyro is the hips, not the thing that goes in your mouth.
That's right.
anyhow, so we open up with, I believe this is, I think this is the Hal Jordan Green Lantern.
It is. It is not Guy Gardner, surprisingly, because
Yeah,
it's
sorry, I would have enjoyed this a bit more if it were Guy Gardner, but it's not.
It's true.
It's the Hal Jordan Green Lantern. And essentially he's talking about how his ring won't let him hurt himself, but with enough willpower, he thinks that he can get past that particular loophole or what have you. And then he just like punches himself in the head so hard that he dies.
Yep.
Real fucking weird, right? Like hot start.
That's a great way to start a wedding. Somebody dies.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Many, many people will die in this, by the way.
Yeah, and it's only like 3 issues of the book itself. It's certainly something. And then so then we kind of pan back out and you see Hal just falling to the ground with it. Part of his, it looks like, brain is exposed.
Yep.
And Booster Gold is like, wow, that was crazy. And just flies off, and Skeets is, of course, behind him. Who's like, and he's like, I don't know about you, but I think we should go find Batman. And Skeets is like, I don't know about you, but this is probably the worst thing you've ever done.
Which says a lot.
Which says a lot. And he's like, no. But just in case, we should probably go find Batman. So this story, much like the issues that come afterwards, it's going to be a little choppy. We're going to kind of check in on some people that don't really figure into the story in a greater way, but it's interesting to see where they're at. In this world, Tim Drake appears to be just some cube farmer in Wayne Engineering. And he's just in his cube while somebody, one of his coworkers or what have you, stands behind him and rambles on about how a Joker, not the Joker, very important, a Joker was on the bus this morning, stabbed this lady. He was going to get out his gun and be a good guy with a gun, but some other guy with a gun was faster than him, shot that Joker a bunch of times. Also another lady, but on accident. It's the 3rd time this month, and President Cobblepot was right.
We're just gonna randomly shoot random people on the bus on accident.
Yeah,
this time.
This
to stop a Joker.
Right, and this guy's talking about it in the way that you would be like, I saw some
my dog food
line at the Starbucks this morning. This is the 3rd time I've seen it. This is getting out of control. You know what? Trump was right.
Yeah, except in this case, it's President Cobblepot.
Yeah, exactly. So he just kind of seems like one of those, what a capital T, like those guys, capital T, capital G, those guys, because he follows that up with, everything would be better if we let President Cobblepot run this place the way that Al Ghul does in Eurasia. So that he's not, yeah. So that's what's happening in this world with Tim Drake, is he's just trying to work at his cube farm job while some right-wing idiot behind him talks about all the people that he saw got killed in Gotham this morning, which inconvenienced him. So we cut back to Booster Gold, and he is on a rooftop. Bat signal that he is, which was just his destination, has been smashed, doesn't work anymore, or maybe never worked at all, unclear. And so Booster Gold just sends up the bat signal of his own, basically using his little bracelet things, while arguing with Skeets. And again, I must stress, like every Tom King book, the dialogue in here is just chef kiss amazing. I wish I could actually read this whole comic verbatim out loud, because it would be lovely, especially this particular.
The back and forth between Booster Gold and his little AI robot is so good.
It's so fucking good. So he sends up the bat signal, and then almost like seconds later gets shot. He's okay. He's, wearing his armor or whatever. And Skeets goes to pains to basically be like, wait, you'd be dead if it weren't for me because I fixed your armor last year. And I did it despite your numerous protests that, quote, armor flattens my buns.
Oh.
And Skeets informs him that also Batman is here. And Booster's like, well, did he get the guy who shot me? And Skeets is like, well, no, sadly, Batman is the one who shot you. And we cut to this like jack crazy looking Batman who's like armed to the teeth with guns and what appears to be like elephant bullets and
Grenades. Yeah.
All that shit. And Batman points a gun at him and is like, move and you die. Which is, I don't know that Batman.
I was gonna say, Batman doesn't usually have guns.
That one, it's so something's terribly wrong here. And so Booster's like, hey Batman, I gotta tell you something. Batman just starts shooting it. Now the bullets ping off of Booster's visor, which is kind of cool. And he's like, I got you a gift, and he gets that out just as Batman like lobs a grenade at him, blows up this rooftop, and Booster Gold goes flying into the air. We cut back over to another person now, Tim Drake.
Todd.
Jason Todd.
Jason Todd. Who's alive.
And he is a car salesman, or more accurately, a tire salesman, who has invented these specific type of tires, Todd tires, that have the quote patented Todd tire tase. You park in Gotham, that Joker, and again, this is not the Joker, a Joker, tries to get your tire, but instead they get lethally fucking tased.
And obviously Tom King is having some fun here because it's Jason Todd talking about Jokers trying to steal your tires. The Joker is carrying a tire iron, which famously is the thing that he beat Jason Todd to death with.
And also too, I was informed by Adam that Jason Todd originally met Batman because he was trying to steal tires off the Batmobile.
Yes, also true.
So this is doubly fun. Again, like,
Tom King knows his homework. There are a lot, and I might interject because I looked up a lot of these things, or I recognize them. Throughout this entire series, he has a lot of references to every Batman movie, every Batman media thing, like something. There's a huge one coming up pretty soon with Catwoman's outfit.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's taking all the different elements of Batman and putting them into this run, and it's so well done because it's usually done for comedic effect.
Yeah. So we cut back over to Booster now, who is like in an alley kind of trying to recover himself. And the first thing out of Skeets' mouth is, I said we should give him a cheese tray. Again, if you know Tom King, he loves his crudités and his trays of snacks. See also Mr. Miracle for the veggie tray, but now it's a cheese tray.
Apocalypse is.
Gotta have that charcuterie. The necessary thing. Ask Jen, she'll get the blanket.
It's true.
Oh, that baguette pillow. So Booster and Skeets just kind of argue back and forth about this cheese tray for a minute. So they're kind of trying to exit this alley that they're in, and they're bickering. And Skeets goes ahead because he's looking for Batman, and does not notice that behind him a noose has come down from above and looped itself around Booster's neck, and he is pulled up out of panel. And Skeets turns around and is like, oh, I think I have something. It turns out the Batman is directly above. I see. You
found him.
Yeah.
You found him. It's okay.
And so now we have encountered another Batman. This Batman indicates that he wishes to kill Booster before he can, quote, be Jokered. I have to assume, Josh, that this is part of the greater plot line.
It is not, however, it is a reference to something that happened in Gotham. I don't know if it happened in the comics ever, but it is something that happened in Gotham where there was something that was released that people became Jokers. It also happened in Arkham City, the video game series, where Joker releases something into the population that basically changes people genetically to become Jokers, to become him.
Yeah, I couldn't quite figure out if that was something that was either part of the previous storyline that I had not read, or if this is a reference to another alternate universe, or who knows what. I was like,
it's happened a few times throughout, I know, the media history. I don't know if it's happened in the comics proper, but it would not surprise me.
Okay.
I remember that happening in the game.
Yes. Yeah, it's a huge part of the game because Bruce himself is infected.
Mm-hmm.
If you have not played the Arkham Asylum games, they are fucking great.
I've seen them played, but I have not actually played them myself. So he's got Booster, and he's threatening him. He's like, I'm gonna kill you before you get jokered, because you're a superhero, you're in my city. And Skeets helpfully is like, well, this is interesting. This is not the Batman we were looking for. This is Dick Grayson. But so Booster manages to free himself from this noose and goes flying off while Batman is shooting at him. This other Batman, Dick Grayson Batman, is shooting at him. He continues to Booster continues to essentially banter with Skeets the entire time. And it's like, hey, look, I'm from the future. I think we should go look for Bruce Wayne. We do some wonderful panel here with Skeets where, basically Skeets is just like, wow, you're really a brilliant strategist. You're going to go look for Bruce Wayne because you're looking for Batman, like A+. And Booster's like, you're mean. And Skeets is like, you are the one who programmed me. And Booster replies, dude, I just downloaded your programming from that site everyone uses. To which Skeets is like, what? And he continues, it didn't say anything about being mean. I should have read the pop-up warning thing. And Skeets is like, what? It's great. So then we cut over, this is somebody that I am personally unfamiliar with. This is Duke.
Yeah, he's the newest, not Robin, very specifically not Robin. Duke, I want to say Duke Winston? No, Duke Winston is the actor who plays, Winston Duke is the actor who plays M'Baku.
Yeah, I was going to say that there's a lot here.
Duke Thomas.
Okay, I was going to say Duke Thomas, and I was glad I was correct in that. This is actually somebody I don't.
He goes by Signal.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in this, he appears to be suffering from a traumatic brain injury. There is a very large scar, looks like, kind of across one side of his head, like somebody has taken like an axe or something to it. It's healed, but it doesn't look good. Like it's shaved, it's whatever. He's kind of got a vacant expression. He's drooling, he's whatever. And somebody is trying to somebody is feeding him off panel. We don't see who it is, but they are talking about how all the rich Gothamites, all of them, he's going to show them, we can solve this Joker problem just fine without anyone getting hurt. Just requires a little treatment. And that's the only time he appears. I do not know who is talking off panel. I don't know what they're talking about, like, at all. I'm sure this has something to do with this particular character's own story, but I don't know what it is. This is
I'm not familiar enough with him. I haven't read enough, but he was looking at online. He was involved in kind of a two-part thing. One is called We Are Robin, and the other is called The Robin War. So yeah,
okay. At any rate, it's the only time he appears in this story. We cut back over to what appears to be Bruce Wayne dancing with an older lady. And the older lady immediately mentions that she is his mother. Like, they're dancing together. It's like, just because it's in my anniversary doesn't mean you have to dance with, with your old mom. And Bruce replies, his dad made him promise to ask for the hand of the prettiest girl in the room. So that's why they're dancing together. So his parents are alive. Bruce Wayne's parents are alive. It's immediately clear. When in through the window flies Booster Gold and Skeets, it literally breaks the window and it's like, "Hey Batman, I got you a gift."
No, he goes, "Hey Batman," and Skeets is like, "Bruce Wayne, hey Bruce Wayne, I got you a gift." Booster Gold is the superhero himbo we all need.
I was gonna say, I feel like every time Booster Gold, especially the way Tom King writes him, if I was talking with Adam about this earlier, and I was like, I feel like we all know a Booster Gold.
Yeah,
it's written this we all know this guy who's just.
I mean, he means well. He just doesn't. He doesn't think through to the logical conclusion of the things that he wants to do.
Right, zero foresight. His head is kind of up his own ass all the time, but he does mean well.
It's word vomit.
Yeah.
Action vomit too.
Action vomit. Yeah, breaking things.
Great thing he has a time machine.
Yeah, they're at a formal event too. It's a black tie event.
There's shards of glass falling on everyone.
Yeah. So the next thing we cut over to is Talia and Ra's al Ghul sparring with one another. And she's talking about how there's no worthy man. One day she will take the throne and reign over Eurasia after he's gone. And she says, once our Joker is done, I will reign over a fair bit more than you do now. I assume this means that whoever is in charge of wherever they are now is a Joker. Unclear. But she does mention that she will be the last of their line and there will be no heir to the Al Ghul throne. And that's, again, the only time they appear here. But it just kind of goes to show you everything is very different. We cut back over to Booster, who basically explains the plot line of, I believe it's called, what do you get for the man who has everything?
Yes.
So he basically just explains that entire plot line is like, hey, look, I heard Batman and Catwoman are getting married. What do I get for the man who has everything? And then he starts to tell essentially that, I remember the story that you and Superman told about, the plot line. I'm not going to get into the whole plot line here.
So for those that don't know, there was something called the Orchid. Superman had his mind trapped in it, but his planet survived. Everything was perfect. It was a utopia. Superman figures out that it's not real, and rather than live in the delusion, he breaks himself out to live in the real world that is flawed and imperfect because he's Superman.
Yeah. It's basically what the hell is the name of that Christmas story, A Wonderful Life or whatever.
Except in reverse, because everything in A Wonderful Life was horrible.
Right. Yeah.
Reverse Clarence.
Wonderful Life gambit there. What?
Yes.
But he does explain, how knowing your life is a worthwhile life. And that's what I got for you for your wedding. Skeets has a time machine, so he went back and saved your parents. So you could see what happens if your parents survive, except everything is fucking terrible.
Oh, no.
Because he's so dumb. He's so
much bad.
Because obviously without Batman's parents being killed, there is no Batman, or at least no proper Batman.
There's no.
Which is why the Batman in this world is Dick Grayson using guns, because Dick Grayson didn't have Batman to pull him out of the anger of his parents dying.
And the trauma of gun use in his childhood.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So he's Batman's into killing. So you get this moment where you get to, you see the worst stuff, and you get this, and then you find peace. And then we use the time machine. Then we go back, and we don't exactly kill your parents exactly, but we let them be killed. And Bruce Wayne is sitting on this chaise lounge and is like, what the fuck? He's like, yeah, I felt like there was something wrong. I kind of had the visions of this other alternate universe, that my parents were gone and there were pearls falling and I was falling dressed like a bat. I always knew that you'd come and that you'd ask me to essentially to take that fall. And Booster's like, yeah, that's it, buddy. Like, you got it. The world is broken and only you can fix it. And then afterwards, you can send me a thank you note.
Don't forget the thank you note.
Right. And Bruce, who is standing now in front of this fire, kind of is like, yes, I will do that. Grabs the fireplace poker and like just sticks it through Skeets and destroys him. And Booster is devastated. Booster's like, but he's got the time machine. Skeets, my dude. Like, and Bruce is like, hey, look, I'm gonna send my guy Alfred up here in a little bit. He'll show you out. Have a good. It's my parents' anniversary. I'm peacing out for their party. Wouldn't miss it for the world. Bye. And takes off. And that's where that first issue ends. So now we cut over to a year later, Arkham Asylum. Arkham Asylum, you just see a shot of the regular asylum and then a shot of an explosion outside of on the top of the asylum. Booster Gold is breaking Selena Kyle out of Arkham. She's in a straitjacket. She only says meow, and it is interesting but not important to note that Booster Gold in this particular era looks like Logan Paul.
It's true.
I pointed it out to Adam and Ed was like, oh no, you're right.
Now the question is, does he do a over the top rope lariat? Like
no, he's not. I don't think he's capable of doing anything.
Because Logan Paul actually does one. Period. Yeah, Logan Paul actually does one better than Hangman Page, and that takes a lot.
Yeah. Sadly, no buckshot lariats in this will be shown in this film. So he breaks her out. And we cut to Bruce and I believe Commissioner Gordon, who are standing and watching. The
it's
top
his
of
dad.
Oh, it's his dad. Oh,
this is Thomas Wayne.
I told you there was going to be times.
No, that's all right.
But
I thought that too, and he does call him father once in this.
I missed that part. Okay. I assumed because he was talking to a older mustachioed man with salt and pepper hair that was Commissioner Gordon.
Yeah.
But at any rate, so he's talking to his dad, and they're at the top floor of Lead Enterprises or whatever. There's all these helicopters in the air. Part of the city appears to be on fire. It looks pretty shitty down there. And he talks about how he got word yesterday that serial killer Catwoman, somebody took her out of Arkham. This Batman will go after her. In order to stop the chaos, President Cobblepot will work with Ra's al Ghul and allow Ra's al Ghul to send in his forces. And all of the work that he did, all the money he threw at the city is going to be for nothing. He's tried everything and he has failed. Gotham is a war zone for monsters, jokers, a madman dressed like a bat. And he's like, Arkham falls, the city falls, and then it very dramatically announces, and I fall, and falls to the ground, having some kind of heart attack. This is something I'm sorry, and I love Tom King, but this is very corny. I was like, yes. Okay.
I feel you need a little bit of this in every Batman story, though. At its essence, Batman is overdramatic.
Yes, this is very much darkness nowhere. So we cut door. We cut over to Booster and Catwoman, and Booster is telling her that he knows all of Batman's big adventures and all this cool stuff. But he's a fan from the future, and and then he starts going off about how one time Poison Ivy took over the world, and then Batman found Harley Quinn. And since Ivy loves Harley Quinn, it worked out, and the world wasn't taken over. So then that's how he got the idea to do this. What if Batman? What if all Batman needs to fix this world is to, see the woman that he loves? And that should be the solution, right? He loves you, and that's good. And he did all this stuff, and he's gonna marry you, and and then he kind of just spirals out of control. It was like everything will be fine, if we could just get Batman. That's the plan. Batman is going to look at you, and then he's going to realize that he loves you, and then all this horrible shit will stop.
His marriage is everything.
Catwoman's only response to this is meow.
Right. The story that Booster is referring to, by the way, is the one that happens right before this one.
Okay.
Ivy takes over every person on Earth except for Bruce and Selina. And the way that Bruce basically gets her out of it is by getting Harley, and this whole thing.
So he's like, okay, so that's the plan. What do you think? And he's like, oh, you know what? Wait, here's what you need. You need more leather.
Always more leather.
And then he goes on to be like, well, there's a brief aside where Bruce is like in church and praying for his father's health, but it's not important. The next thing we see is Booster Gold talking about how he doesn't know how to sew, but he's tried his best to make this Catwoman her cat suit, and he's like, I really can't sew. I'm not good at it. Blue Beetle always used to help me. He's not here, so this is what's you get to look like this. And there's a panel of Michelle Pfeiffer in the 89 Batman. Basically, I mean, it's the exact costume.
Yes, that is what Selina's wearing.
Yeah. Which made my heart happy because that's my Batman. Like the late 80s, early 90s Burton Batman.
Michael Keaton.
That's my Batman.
Michael Keaton, yeah.
Yeah. Like Batman Returns is my favorite Christmas movie. Batman Forever is probably my favorite Batman movie of all time. Do not at me in the comments. I don't want to hear. It's got the soundtrack absolutely slaps. There is no argument on this.
Oh no, I will also argue that Jim Carrey was the quintessential Riddler.
Yes, thank you. I don't even like Jim Carrey, but I loved his portrayal of the Riddler. Anyways, so we cut over to like a hospital waiting room where they're watching a little segment on Jason Todd, whose tasing tires have killed 17 children over the last year. And he's being represented by the Dent firm. But they're in this hospital like waiting area, apparently waiting on the health of Bruce's dad. And his mom does say, because he's like, Mom, it's gonna be fine. And his mom is like, oh, Brucey, you were never the world's greatest detective. So it turns out his dad is fine. His dad is fine. We cut over to Catwoman, who's smoking on a balcony, or about to have smoke on a balcony, and she's interrupted by gunfire. She manages to get in just in time before Booster Gold puts up a shield. This Batman is like, Booster Gold, die, and tries to come at them. He manages to like repel them with some kind of power, zap power from his bracelets or something. I don't really know. And I was like, hey, we got to get out of here. He grabs Catwoman and he's like, yeah, I had this whole plan to set up a meet cute on a rooftop because I know you guys love rooftops. That's your favorite thing, you two. And like, I was going to do that, but maybe we don't need that. Maybe we can just go straight to the mansion. Really just speed things up because this is getting really annoying with this other Batman coming after us and trying to kill us all the time. And sure enough, we cut over to the mansion where Bruce is having coffee or tea or something with his dad. And Bruce is talking about how happy he is. And there's a crash. And once again, Booster Gold is on the doorstep and is like throws the doors open. Catwoman is like, in front of him, and he's just like, it's a meet cute. Right? It's just not how meet cutes work at all. Like, even a little bit. Catwoman, being an utter psychopath of this particular crapsack universe, immediately attacks Alfred.
Murders Alfred straight up.
Straight up, was just throat open. And
so Alfred's not a badass in this one.
It's like, wait, what? Batman's dad is like, hey, so Selina, I closed the orphanage. I did the work that put you away. I paid for your cell. take me, let my son go. And so she's like, okay, no problem. And it just, leaps on him and starts clawing at him. And then gets shot herself by this gun wielding Batman that has appeared at the door and is like, Booster Gold, you also need to die. And throws like a flashbang in his direction. And there's chaos, like just chaos ensues. There's fighting. His mom comes in and is like, no, everybody stop. Batman shooting. Selena Kyle is clawing. There's a lot going on here. Bruce manages to get a hold of the gun. And then we part two. I mean, like, we finally get to the title panel of this, which part two. And Bruce Wayne is just surrounded by everybody's dead bodies. It's like looking up at the sky, like, no.
So to break down the chaos a little bit, Selena jumped on Thomas, is ripping the crap out of him. Batman comes in, shoots Catwoman, and then throws the flashbang, which doesn't kill but incapacitates Booster Gold. Selena jumps back up to attack Batman. Martha gets in the way. Batman fires a gun at Selena, misses, hits Martha Wayne and kills her. Then Bruce picks up the gun and shoots Batman in the head.
Yeah, it's a lot.
So Martha, Thomas, Selena, and Dick Grayson all dead in the span of like 2 panels.
Yeah.
Wow. Definitely sounds like that's a lot of deaths in just a couple of pages. Like,
yes,
an excessive amount of deaths.
Yes. Yeah, this one is wild. So we get to the next issue 1 year, or the next issue 1 year later. Skeets is repaired and coming back on.
Good.
And meanwhile, Bruce Wayne is shooting at targets that look like Batman and Selena Kyle. And he's being told, like, it's online, but they haven't been able to replicate the voice commands for Skeets. And he's being told that they need that exact voice to command the machine. And the machine keeps asking over and over again for Booster Gold. So sure enough, we cut over to Booster Gold. Booster Gold no longer looks like Logan Paul. Booster Gold looks terrifying. He looks like he weighs approximately 80 pounds, except for his beard, which looks like it weighs 110 pounds.
Yep.
It is some of the strangest comic book art I have seen of a man in a very long time.
Yeah, and he's chained up in the Batcave, actually,
Yeah.
which is still just a cave.
Yeah.
Obviously he's not being fed well.
Okay.
So he's like, he's mid sentence, and like, Booster Gold, the greatest hero you've never heard of. And you just see Bruce Wayne is like, I've heard of you. You're basically the man who broke everything. And Booster Gold's immediate response is, Booster Gold, the greatest hero, only one person has heard of. I suppose. So Bruce is like, get him out of the chains, clean him, dress him, bring him to the library. So whoever Batman's or Bruce's goons do exactly that. And as they're doing that, Booster explains his whole backstory, basically, his abbreviated backstory about how he used to be a football player at Gotham University. His dad made him throw games for money. He got a job working at the Metropolis Space Museum. Then got sick of his job and decided to steal a time machine and a bunch of other stuff, and go back in time to become a hero. Even had a costume. And they messed up his name and called him Booster Gold, which I feel is a slight exaggeration of the truth. And then after that, everything was fine. And so he's reintroduced to Skeets, and Skeets is like, Skeets, oh my God, Booster, oh yeah, and I was dead, I got better, where have you been? I was crazy. Well, did you get better? I don't know, probably not. So, then we come across the rare for us franchise Punisher variant of Batman. on God, that's exactly what he looks like in this panel. Skull and everything. Like, I swear that, like...
Well, it looks like armor, but yes, it could, if you squint, it could be a skull.
If you told me this panel out of context, I would have thought it was from a Punisher comic.
It's true.
I would have been totally fine with a Batman Punisher. Like,
it makes a little bit more sense. He would have been more competent.
Yeah.
And on this page is also the gift for any comic book fan that severely misunderstands the homework, and that is the pistol with a Batman symbol on the grip.
Yep.
Just in case your idiot maggot uncle who tries to bond with you over comic books and does not understand them needs something for Christmas.
Right. But he's got these guns and he's like, okay, Booster, you're going to tell this device that you wish to travel back 1 year in time. They're going to, with that, I'm going to find Batman and Catwoman before they kill my parents, and then we will tell the device to return back here. If you don't do this, I put a bomb in the device in Skeets. And then after that's destroyed, once this is all done, I'm going to kill you, Booster. And just in case you think that I'm bluffing, I had my engineers design ammo that could penetrate your costume's armor. And Booster's like, man, in retrospect, you're right. We should have gotten Mitchie straight. So Booster tries to explain to Bruce that he can't just go back in time to that specific point. Like, you have to use an event. You can't just be like, I want to go back to March 7th, 2023 at 3:47 p.m. Like, it doesn't work like that. You have to give it like an event or something to make it work. So he's like, okay, well, that's great. Take us to 10 minutes before my parents were killed. And so Booster's like, yes, perfect, well done. Skeets, you've heard the man. Take us back to 10 minutes before Bruce Wayne's parents were killed. And then he legitimately just does a huge, goofy fucking wink. And Batman is like, did you just wink? And he's like, no, I mean, there was a fly in my eye. I was trying to, and just immediately starts blathering. And meanwhile, Skeets in the background is like, my operations are maximum value. I'm rebooting the necessary systems. And the next thing, so you see a gun being raised towards Booster as he's calling for Skeets. And then the next thing you see is a child at a movie theater, and there is a loud bang. A man is telling him, don't worry, it's just a noise. That noise can't hurt you. Everything's fine. And they are on a rooftop, presumably above this movie theater. And Booster's like, well, we're back to when we, like, right before we originally came here to save his parents. Now we have to unsave them. We can save the world if we do this. But it's too late because Skeets has already been shot again by Batman. And he's like, this is not part of the plan. Now we're stuck here if you die. Bruce now starts pistol whipping Booster, like, what the hell did you do? And so Booster tries to explain, like, I'm from the future. All these heroes have families, and I'm part of the family now. And I did what families do for people's weddings, is like, I brought you a gift. Meanwhile, it's kind of juxtaposed with panels of young, what we now can assume is young Bruce Wayne, quoting the Zorro movie that him and his parents had seen on the night of their deaths, very excitedly, the way that kids do. So sure enough, zapping out of the sky is Booster. It's like, hey, I bet you guys are essentially like, let me guess, you guys are here to stop me from saving his parents. Then the world is saved and everything can go back to normal. Keats is like, oh no. He's like, I'm really confused by this whole, like, wrestling with Bruce and he's got a big gun thing. I don't know how that jives with the whole Batman fighting inner peace, but whatever. I'm sure this has a logical explanation. And he manages to, like, pop off the gun and hits Booster in the chest, which then causes the Waynes to divert down Crime Alley because his dad is like, ooh, it sounds like something kind of shitty's going on ahead. Let's duck through the alley, avoid whatever's going on in here. Booster and Booster are fighting along with Bruce. While meanwhile, the Wings are walking down crime alley, getting held up. And so we're kind of alternating between panels here. Booster's got a gun in his face. Mr. Wayne has a gun in his face. The guns go off at the same time. The pearls fall. And boy Bruce and adult Bruce are both like mirrored in the next couple panels. Like mother, father, Batman, Bruce, whatever. So they're up on the rooftop. Booster's like, no, you don't have to do anything. Don't get crazy. I just wanted you to see. Adult Bruce is putting a gun to his head and then blows his brains out. And that's how that ends. Is like you just see in the reflection of Booster's visor, Bruce shooting himself in the head, and he's like, we saved the world.
Wow.
The next thing we see is him confessing everything to the correct Batman and the correct Catwoman. I don't know what the equivalent here is. Like, I don't know, the 616 Batman, 616 Catwoman.
Yeah. The unfucked with Batman and Catwoman.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's clearly traumatized because he's talking about how he cannot get Batman's blood off of this visor. And he's like, I just wanted to tell you, maybe, I thought that you would understand. Like, anyways, and that's how it ends. That's how that prequel ends. Which I was like, that goes hard. That goes a place I was not expecting.
I always get so confused, like when they start bringing in I love the timeline stuff. Like that's my favorite. Like we're hopping the multiverse, we're bringing in all the different versions and whatever. So I like it when they always get weird like that. But then I'm like, well, wait, now how does everybody get back, and how does that affect their storyline beforehand, and what happens afterwards now, and everything's totally messed up. I don't want to curse.
Yeah, you can. This one cleaned it up. This one cleaned it up pretty well. Because everyone is dead. The only thing that I noticed is there were 2 boosters at the end of it. There's only one Skeets, and Bruce Wayne killed himself, and the parents are dead, and they were the only ones that went into the past, so that timeline never happened. But there were 2 boosters at the end of that. It never really explains where, obviously...
Yeah, he didn't have a time machine because he broke the other one.
Well, but there was a Skeets that was with the past booster that shows up at the end.
Right, but could a past character send somebody to an unknown future?
Well, apparently.
I don't. Time travel, man.
Yeah.
So the next thing that we get into is a issue called Your Big Day. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because this is it's I think the trope is like 2 heads talking in a room, basically.
It's a bottle episode.
Yeah, and it's Joker who has broken into some poor asshole's house in a Tux and Tails. Joker is not the poor asshole. And he's broken into this house in Tux and Tails at gunpoint. And his entire objective is to sit there all day and wait for the mail to come, because today he is expecting an invitation in the mail for Batman and Catwoman's wedding. And the guy whose house he broke into is like, why would Batman send a piece of mail for you here? I don't know any of you. But it's Joker, and he's saying, so that doesn't matter. There is a lot of back and forth here in this issue that is...
he very slowly drives this man insane just sitting in front of his mail slot.
Yeah, they literally just sit and park it in front of his mail slot. Joker says a bunch of unhinged stuff. This guy slowly, goes nuts because the Joker is Joker.
Right. Joker's entire thing, because the guy's like, I don't know any of you. Why would he send you an invitation here? He says, well, he has to send it somewhere and sometime. And this is somewhere and this is sometime.
Yeah, and that's all the explanation that you need, because that's Joker logic, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So the punchline is that the mail comes, and Joker is overjoyed because now he is officially invited. And there is in the mail slot a sealed envelope that does kind of look like it could be a wedding invitation until he's like being the Joker, is like, hey, I'm so excited, I'm officially invited, I'm so happy. Just turns around and just shoots this man, kills him. And he's like, oh, well, I'm happy I kill people. The very last thing you see is it is a letter from the City of Gotham Department of Education talking about how this man's daughter was late for school on this past Monday, and they just need to make sure it doesn't happen again. It's not a wedding invitation at all, just a random piece of paper. So then that's the Joker, and that's that issue.
Yep. One of those needs to be read to be believed, kind of, because it is a very good jump into how Tom King sees the Joker.
Yes, it is very well written, like the dialogue and the back and forth, but none of it is important enough to really include in here in any detail.
Right. And we need to save time for the next issue, because these issues are the ones that get to kind of the meat of what this is.
Yeah. So this next issue, we open up with somebody. I do not know who this is. Is this just a random person?
Random dude.
Okay. And there's a man praying in a church. There's gunfire in the background, people screaming. And then this guy gets shot. We have a wide shot out. It's, this very large cathedral, and, for dramatic effect, all these bats are flying away after this big bang. And the bat signal is also out as well. Cut over to Joker in a different Talks on Tales this time, and he is singing to himself the Batman theme song from the 1960s Batman.
Just a bunch of na-na-na-na-nas.
Yeah. And just as we get to the part where, he's supposed to say Batman flies through the stained glass window of the cathedral. And Joker grabs the bride, or a bride that happens to be in the church. So he's interrupted a wedding, basically. And grabs the bride and it's like, wait, stop, I have a hostage. If she moves so much as blam, and it's like, oops, I messed that up. The entire little arc here is basically Joker. This is Tom King writing Joker as Batman's extremely jealous and unhinged ex-girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
He talks about how, where am I going to get a hostage at this time of night? As they're kind of fighting their way through this church, and manages to get a gun to Batman's head, and Batman manages to kind of free himself a little bit. Joker's like, hey, I've been trying to get in touch with you. I wasn't sure how. So I went to a church, killed everybody in it, and then I realized, hey, I should go to a church and kill everyone in it, and Batman will come to me. But everybody in it, everybody in the church that I was currently in was dead, which is super inconvenient. So I went to a different church, to the biggest church I can find. And then he's like, but then you showed up and then levels the gun at Batman and shoots him. Batman collapses to the ground. Of course, it's Batman, so he's not dead. And Batman basically somehow manages to kind of kip out a little bit and just kick Joker, sort of sweet chin music him a little bit, but with both feet. Joker's like, well, I heard you were getting married, and I just really wanted to be there, basically. And they're fighting the entire time this is taking place. He's shooting at Batman. Batman is throwing batarangs at him. They're going through in this church, just kind of fighting. Joker talking about how, he's talking about his mother. He's talking about, he's like unhinged. And Batman kind of manages to corner him a little bit. And he's like, and Joker's like, oh, I think I need another hostage. And he's like, oh, hang on a second, I got one, and puts the gun to his own head. And he's like, hey, if you move even 1 inch, I'm gonna do it. And then he starts talking about how, his mom told him the story about St. Augustine going from being a Manichaean to being a Catholic, and how everything, has a true north, where there's salvation and whatever. If you head towards that, you head towards God and paradise. Everything else is chaos. He then kind of kneels at the altar and is like, "Pray with me, Batman, or I'll blow my head off," because he still has the gun pointed at his chin now. So Batman actually does. Batman actually like kind of kneels down next to him and folds his hands in prayer. And Joker is like, "Hey, am I your best man?" As he asks that, the altar blows up.
It's fine.
Yeah. And Joker's like, "Oh, right, I forgot to tell you that I put a bomb in the cross. I thought it would be funny." They are both injured. And Batman is kind of like lying in the rubble. Joker manages to get up. And it is implied that he shoots at Batman. Meanwhile, on the outside building, Catwoman is waiting and hears the gun go off, and is kind of complaining to herself about how Batman was like, "Stay here, it's too dangerous for you to go inside." And she's like, "Forget it." So that's how that issue ends.
With her heading inside the church.
Her heading inside the church.
Okay.
So she heads inside the church, and there's Joker, and he's like, "Hey, remember the old times? Penguin and the umbrella, Riddler the puzzles, Ivy the plant, Scarecrow the cast, Manhunter the hats, Two-Face in the tears, Freeze in the cold, you and the cats, me and the smile," which I think is a wonderful bit of dialogue. But like, remember what a good time we had together? What was weird? You never laughed. And she's like, yeah, you're right. Anyways, and so, they start fighting. He starts shooting at her. She starts flipping and whipping away. There is a lot of this. So this is an extended fight sequence here, where they're just kind of going at each other. And he does manage to shoot her. He does manage to claw his throat. They are now laying on top of the rubble of this half-exploded church. The conceit here is that Joker is essentially holding the artery in his throat closed to keep from bleeding out. Catwoman is doing the same for her own gunshot wound. And they are just laying on their backs within semi-reach of one another, but they can't really do too much about it, because if they move and take their hands off of their respective injuries, they will bleed out very quickly. This is very similar to the previous Joker issue that we had, where there is just two people talking in the church. In this case, it's him and Catwoman now.
Yeah, all three, actually. There was him and the guy in the house, there was him and Batman, and now there's him and Catwoman.
Yes, yeah. So the dialogue here is basically, hey, remember the good times? Remember when we used to do crime together, sort of thing. And, she's like, "Well, I've changed. I wasn't having fun. Whatever we did, he was better. We just kept losing." Okay. I'm not going to get into a lot of this dialogue because, again, it's not super important to the plot. But they do a little bit of reminiscing. They do a little bit of like villain camaraderie sort of stuff. Like, he asks her about like what her wedding dress looks like and stuff like that. And then kind of gets into the jealous ex-girlfriend stuff. Like, we all loved him. We wanted him to love us. He never loved us. I'm the one who gave him meaning. I know him because I hurt him. And it is important to note here that Selina says that he can't be happy. That Bruce can't be happy and also be bad.
Joker says that to Selina.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
Because Selina says, you gave him misery, and I realized that you see like his frown and his cowl and everything and his symbol, and you think that that's all he wanted was misery. I saw through that and saw that all he wanted was just a little bit of happiness.
Yeah. So after a while, Joker decides that it's time, and he actually manages to stand up and he's like, before you guys get married, I have to save him. I'm sorry, Selena. I wish you the best, but I have to save Batman. I need Batman. I need him on the rooftops, in the alleys. I need him to hit me. I need him to believe me. I need him to stand between me and everything. I can kill everything, and I need him to stop. If you make him happy, he isn't Batman. And because he has now stood up and because he's now taken his hand off of his wound, he manages to get to his feet and point the firearm at Selena, but then immediately pretty much just crumbles and passes out and dies? Question mark.
I think he's just passed out from blood
Just
loss.
passed out. It's comic books, so yeah, he's probably unconscious. Yeah. He's probably just fine. The wound is healing itself. It's fine. Bruce comes to. He's not dead. He's just passed out. He is like, hey, look, oh, thank goodness you're okay. He shot me, he poisoned me, he paralyzed me, but I think I can make it. I don't know what he wanted, but he didn't get it. And Selena just starts laughing in this really unhinged way that I don't love. It's very much like a Joker-esque laugh. So that's pretty fucked up. And that's where that kind of arc sort of ends there. And now we finally get into the wedding itself. We open with Batman and Catwoman fighting Kite Man, because why not? Why would he not fight Kite Man?
Kite Man. Hell yeah.
But they're discussing their wedding plans and as they're fighting Kite Man,
seems legit.
Yeah, it's a normal thing to do. Is like, hey, maybe we'll do it at dawn. I can get a judge. We'll need 2 witnesses. I'll bring one, you bring one. And even Kite Man is like, hell yeah. So the way that the story is told from here on out is very interesting. The action of the comic is juxtaposed with 2 letters. One is to Catwoman from Batman. The other one is from Catwoman to Batman.
Also, just to jump in really quick, there are 28 different artists for this comic.
Yeah.
Oh.
So there's going to be points. So the letter parts are juxtaposed with artwork by these different artists of Batman and Catwoman together in romantic fashion. It's really, really interesting, and I don't want to do this a disservice. So I will say, much like some of, I feel like just about every other one that I've done this season and last, I highly recommend you actually check it out, and look at it with your eyes, because some of the artwork in here is really outstanding.
Yeah, I mean, it has there's Frank Miller's in here. Jim Lee did a thing for this. There are a lot of A-list artists in this book.
Very cool.
So I'm not going to get into the, describing each picture or anything like that. And the letters are very long and wordy. I sort of kind of got the Jonathan Hickman glaze after about half of this. Mm-hmm. So I am not going to describe these letters very much at all. Only just say that they talk about how much each one loves the other person. We'll get to the important bits later, but for now, there's just a lot of romantic dribble about, I thought you were the hottest, whatever.
And a lot of this also reflects things that have happened earlier in this run. There's an ongoing joke about how Bruce insists that they met on a boat and Selena insists that they met on the street. Both of them have different stories for how they first met, which is indicative of the different ways that Catwoman has been introduced throughout the history of Batman and all of the ways that things have been rebooted and whatever. So
yeah,
pretty cool.
So we get some of this artwork, which is very nice. And then we see that Batman is picking up a drunk judge at a bar called Porky's. Is like, Judge Wolfman, come with me or whatever. Meanwhile, at Arkham Asylum, there is a girl who is getting some kind of communication. It's unclear from where. It's not a telephone. I don't know where she's hearing that, but she's being told that she's being moved to a certain cell block. She's paid off some people at Arkham. And this woman is Holly Robinson. I have no idea who Holly Robinson is.
Again, earlier in the run.
Okay.
And kind of what brought Bruce and Selina back together. But Selina was convicted for murdering 237 people. And it was actually her best friend, Holly, who had done it, and she took the blame. Holly and Selina grew up in an orphanage, Bruce Wayne's parents' orphanage. The people behind the burning down of that, basically, Holly went and found every person that made any sort of decision leading to and executing the burning of that orphanage, and murdered them. And then Selina took the blame.
Ugh. All right. Good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a character I have never encountered before.
Right. I believe that they were invented specifically for this run. But this all culminated in basically Batman and Catwoman going to whatever the hell, the country that Bane runs.
Oh, yeah.
Violating.
Saint Banistan.
Yes, Saint Banistan. Violating his sovereign country status to basically get this woman. No, I'm sorry. That was something different. I'm sorry. It was Talia al Ghul that they went and got Holly from.
Okay.
Talia was hiding her, and actually it's a great issue because it is the ex-girlfriend, mother of Bruce's child, fighting with Catwoman, discussing their upcoming marriage. It's great. It's a great comic.
So at any rate, Holly's being transferred to this other cell block by people who've been paid off. There's a couple more comic panels with the letters on them, and then we see that off Robinson Boulevard, a Batman is fighting crime and is being told by Alfred that his suit is ready. And under Arkham, we see that Catwoman is fighting the same man, except it's not. It's Tweedledee and Tweedledum. They were both respectively fighting. So I thought that was a neat little conceit there. And there's more letters. In Wayne Manor, Catwoman is leading this blindfolded Holly person into essentially the library. And she's like, I can't take off your blindfold, because if I were to tell him that I showed you how to get in here, he would be very upset. And she then takes off the blindfold, and she's like, Holly is completely dumb, like awestruck by this library. It's like, this is his house. This is your house. This is where you're live. Holy shit. Meanwhile, in the East Wing, Batman and Alfred are discussing the elopement plans, and so he's like, "Yeah, we're gonna go to the rooftop. This judge that I'm gonna grab is gonna be too drunk to remember what he said or signed." And Alfred's like, "Well, why a rooftop?" And he's like, "Well, it's where we were. It's where we'll always be." Meanwhile, in the Englehart bedroom, which I have to assume is part of Wayne Manor,
Yes.
Holly and Selina are getting ready, getting the gown on and everything else. In the Conway bedroom, Bruce and Alfred are getting ready. Bruce is complaining about his tie, which I think is very funny, because Alfred points out, every night you wear molded leather bets, as you perform feats of astonishment, you'll be fine. And there's a sweet moment too where he talks about, he's like, "Oh, I just don't know. I look like my father." And Alfred is like, "Master Bruce, you most certainly do," which is very sweet. Like, just really adorable. There's more artwork, more letters. And then there's a very cool, like, fisheye lens sort of drawn panel where you can see on one end, like on the right-hand side, Alfred and Batman are walking out of their respective, wings, as Holly and Catwoman are walking out of their respective wing. And Bruce and Selina meet in the middle for a kiss, and it's really cute. It's a really nice panel. So there's more letters, and then Holly's like, oh man, they're back in the Englehart bedroom, and Holly's like, oh man, I can't believe that's the guy. Like, and
in their conversations, it's been revealed that due to like Selena and Bruce's first fight ever, the first time they met, there was a scratch on Bruce's face, or on Batman's face, that they then noticed Bruce Wayne had. So Holly and Selena have known that Bruce Wayne is Batman his entire career.
Yeah. And they also...
Does he know that she knows this? I mean, Batman and Catwoman are getting married, so like...
Yes, Bruce and Selena know that each other's identities, but Bruce does not know that Holly knows who he is.
Yeah, and Holly also points out too that both Holly and Selena note that Bruce has never been like this, has never been happy, and that he always seemed to need his misery. Holly points out, like it was how he did what he did, and Selena actually takes note of this and is like, "Wait, what?" And then we cut over to Batman and Alfred getting ready. And so Alfred is like, as for the witness, should I call Master Dick or Master Clark? And Bruce is like, no, I was thinking I could be you, Alfred, if you're free, because it's just been the two of us, this whole time. And he says, I can't do anything without you, really. I never could or will. And you see again the artwork. I think this is spectacular because there's no more dialogue on the rest of the page. But you see Alfred kind of taken aback for a moment, sits down next to Bruce on the couch. His eyes are full of tears, and he just reaches out for Bruce and gives him a big hug. It's really sweet and very true. I think it's a very, very emotional moment.
And if you have listened to our Nightwing episode, it is alluding to a lot of things to come.
Yes. There's more artwork, more letters. They're talking about each other's eyes and how cool they are. So we cut now to O'Neill Avenue, where there is a car being driven by Holly with Selena in tow, and Holly is like, "Hey, is everything okay?" And Selena is like, "Well, I wrote him a letter. I didn't finish it. I need to finish it. I haven't written to him since Arkham when we confessed, and I have to assume that was when." Yeah.
When she said it wasn't her,
right,
that murdered all the people.
She's like, it's there was so much I need to tell him. It's hard to say it. We're always so tired. When we're not tired, we're out there, essentially fighting crime. She asks Holly, she's a hero. Holly's like, oh yeah, man. After everything's happened, don't you have to be? Meanwhile, on the expressway, now it's Alfred and Bruce. They're talking as well about it. Bruce is saying, I wrote her a letter. I wanted to tell her everything. But we just don't have time anymore. Bruce asks Alfred, like, Alfred, can I be happy? And Alfred's like, after everything you've done, after everything you've gone through, to go on another day, don't you have to be? So more artwork, more parts of the letter. King Plaza, on another rooftop, of course. Selena is hanging out in her wedding dress. And you can see that she has left in front of, I think it just his computer.
The Bat computer, yeah.
Yeah, there is a envelope with just simply addressed to Bat. And then when we look at Selena, we can see a little bit more of a close-up out of her face. We can tell that she's been crying. There's some mascara that is run down her face. She takes off the veil, leaps off the rooftop. Not in a suicide way, in a Catwoman way, to be clear. Yeah. And meanwhile, on a different rooftop, this one being Finger Tower, a rapidly sobering Judge Alfred and Bruce are sitting there waiting. And the judge is like, "Hey, look, we wait another hour, we need another drink or four." And we see now that on the pillow of a bed is an envelope addressed only to Kat. And then it comes, back around to Bruce. Bruce then takes off his tie while the judge and Alfred are talking. And all of a sudden, Alfred is like, "Master Bruce, sir," and Bruce just does the same thing, leaps off the building again, not in a suicide way, in a Batman way, and goes out into the ether. So what it turns out that these letters were about were basically like, I have to sacrifice something. I realize you can't be Batman if you are happy, and you can't be who you are if you're happy. So I guess this is goodbye, basically. The conclusion to all of this is that Catwoman brought Holly back to Arkham, locked her up, left. Holly talks about how she's, how Catwoman is devastated but determined, as you said she'd be. And she's clearly talking to somebody. Says, "Don't worry." And then this person replies, "Don't worry, I know he is what I made him. The bat is broken." And you see it is Bane sitting essentially on a throne of skulls with a bunch of Batman villains surrounding him. Some I recognize, some I did not. The Riddler and the Joker are there. Another Batman is there.
I believe that's supposed to be Clayface, who just really enjoys dressing as
somebody who is a bald Batgirl.
Yeah, that is Gotham Girl, who's from earlier in the run. There's all of these people were from earlier in Tom King's run.
Okay, and that's how that story ends. So that's that on that.
Oh,
is that this has all been a Bane plot all along?
That's kind of disappointing. I kind of just really hoped there was a universe when they actually got married, I guess.
So it is my understanding. So I did a tiny bit of research earlier this morning because I was like, I have a couple questions about this that I feel like I should know. And I guess I came across, so this, apparently this was extremely controversial.
Yeah.
And people fucking hated it. Especially if they were invested in previous Tom King run and or Batman Catwoman romance ships in general. This was the people fucking hated this. I kind of get it, but I'm not enough of a DC fan to fully understand why. I didn't really have a problem with any of this, but I think that's just due to my lack of knowledge. I don't have any strong feelings. So that's...
Yeah, I'm kind of the same. I mean, I guess I've read enough comics where I'm pleasantly surprised when a marriage actually happens. The last big one for me being Rogue and Gambit, who weren't even supposed to get married in the issue that they got married in. It was supposed to be Kitty and Colossus. And yeah. So yeah, weddings never work in comic books or in wrestling.
Right. And I mean, it's like a par for course, right? Like you like all this build up, all this like love letters, all these like wonderful things. And then of course it's Bane at the very end. Like I get why people would be disappointed. Like I literally was hoping like this was like the magical universe where Batman and Catwoman finally get to be together, and no.
There is, I would recommend, because again, I have not read further. I'm going to probably today after I read Ultimatum for tomorrow. But there is an issue that showed the future of Selina and Bruce that Tom King wrote, and it's really, really good. This whole run, it starts with the Monster Men, which I wasn't as really into, but I Am Gotham. Night of the Monster Men kind of happens a little bit before, just to give you some background of stuff, and then I Am Gotham. I Am Gotham kicks off, and it's okay. It's got kind of rocky. I Am Suicide kind of picks up from there, and then we go into the stuff I was talking about with Bane, and where it hits its stride for me is the fourth graphic novel called The War of Jokes and Riddles. And from there, it's just a ride. So high recommend. Again, Tom King. This reading these 7 has cemented him in the top 3 of my favorite, and definitely my top comic book writer that is still putting out stuff currently.
Yes,
my other 2 that are probably forever in my top 2 spots are Neil Gaiman and Warren Ellis. And neither of them are really doing a lot right now. They're writing,
yeah,
like novels.
Yeah, those are good too. So,
Yes.
you know,
I'll take it. I guess.
But Ems, how did we do?
I think you did a good job. Like I said, I didn't know anything about this coming into it. I didn't even know that this was like an actual thing. I am disappointed that it didn't work out, but as you said, not surprised because it doesn't typically happen.
Right.
But I did have like a little moment a while back when Leia was explaining things and she was like, oh, it's like, Batman is fighting this one and Catwoman's fighting this one. It was like Tweedledum and Tweedledee. Yeah. And I was like, oh shit, it's Alice in Wonderland and Batman happening at the same time. So
yeah, there's a whole cross section of Alice in Wonderland and Batman.
Yeah.
Mad Hatter's is a villain. Tweedledee and Tweedledum are in. I believe there's been the Red Queen.
That doesn't surprise me. Yeah.
Or Queen of Hearts. Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of Lewis Carroll stuff kind of interwoven into the Batman mythos.
It's so funny. So funny how you can be drawn to 2 things like that and then not even know that there's like that much crossover culture. That's right. Yeah. Now I'm going to have to take a deep dive down into that rabbit hole because I'm completely fascinated by that.
With all of the time that you have.
I mean, right now it's kind of chaotic, but by June, things will mellow out a little bit. You can actually enjoy the summer.
There we go. Well, Ems, thank you so much for joining us. Again, if anybody has a dog and is looking for a new podcast, Straight Up Dog Talk with me and Ems.
Or
a dog trainer. Ems does that too. Yeah, new episodes of Straight Up Dog Talk drop every Wednesday. In that, if you miss my voice and obviously Graphically Novel's been on a hiatus, we're working on coming back. Retcon, we kind of have seasons and then we drop off for a few months to recuperate.
Pretty much, yeah. Like, hey, would you like to read some of the worst storylines in comics for a couple months in a stroke? No, but I'll do it anyway.
We've been pretty even this season.
Actually, we've done more good than bad recently, which I'm tremendously grateful for.
Right. Yeah. So tune in next week. Although we are recording Ultimatum tomorrow, our next episode that will be released will be Madam Web, which won't even really be a single graphic novel. We're gonna do something a little different because somebody said, okay, explain Madam Web to me. So I'm going to go through all of the different points where Madam Web kind of shows up in Spider-Man and give you an idea. I'm sure we'll talk about the movie, which Jen and I did watch, and God, was it bad.
I didn't. So I marked safe for Madam Web, I guess.
Right. Yes. No, it's a good idea. Put that on Facebook right now. I don't know. Much like I felt with Morbius, it would have been better if it was a movie that was not tied to Spider-Man at all, since you don't have Spider-Man in it. The only ones that I feel have worked have been the Venom movies.
Yeah.
But that's mostly because, schizophrenic Venom is hilarious.
Yeah.
So yes, on that note, please tune in next time. And until then, take it away, Vandello.
Direct conversation, some deep reactions, please. All this comics narration ain't elating me. A little more talk, a lot less read. A little fight, baby, is what I need. Close the trade, open up your brains. Explain it to me. Explain it to me, baby. Explain it to me. Explain it to me, baby. Explain it to me. Vandello 2021.